Alhambra. Set against the snow-capped mountains in front of you is the Alhambra in Granada. It's one of the most serenely sensual and beautiful buildings in the world, a place where Moorish art and architecture reached their pinnacle. In Arabic, La Alhambra means Red Castle. A masterpiece for you to admire. It's located in Granada, a city full of culture and history. The most significant part about its history is that the Alhambra is the last stronghold of the Moorish rulers in Spain, before Ferdinand and Isabella drove them out of the European continent and into North Africa. Its beauty and architectural heritage will touch your heart. Here's what some celebrities have to say about the Alhambra. If we were to visit one city in Spain, that should be Granada, Ernest Hemingway. Every curious traveler keeps Granada in his heart, even without having visited. William Shakespeare. You should see Alhambra and Granada is like a fairy work. It's magic, glory, and love, not like anything else known. Granada is like crystal bride of our dreams. Francois René, the French writer and traveler. I begin to think that there is an even greater pleasure than to see Granada, and is to see her again. Alexandre Dumas, French author and playwright. Last but not least, Granada excited to undo and melt all the senses. Henri Matisse, the painter. There are different viewing spots to appreciate the overall Alhambra complex before going inside, such as St. Nicholas View Spot and the neighborhood of Albaicin. I was moving from viewpoint to viewpoint to shoot these video scenes so that you can see the Alhambra complex from different angles. From here, for instance, you can see that the Alhambra is located on a very strategic point in Granada City, with a view over the whole city and the meadow. And this fact leads one to believe that other buildings were already on the site before the Muslims arrived. The complex is surrounded by ramparts and has an irregular shape. The castle of the Alhambra was added to this area within the ramparts in the 9th century, but it was not until the arrival of the first king of the Nasrid dynasty, Muhammad bin Alhama, in the 13th century, that the royal residence was established in the Alhambra. This event marked the beginning of Alhambra's most glorious period. Also in the 13th century, the old part of the Alcazaba was reinforced, and the watchtower, the keep, warehouses, and deposits were built. And water was channeled into the complex from the river Darro. But it's not until the 14th century that most of the constructions were completed in the Alhambra that we can still admire today.
It's a beautiful view. This is a beautiful view.
We're inside the Alhambra now. One quick note. The Alhambra is a very popular tourist attraction in Spain, and tickets can be sold out sometimes, particularly during the peak season. You should make a reservation a week or two before your planned visit to secure a spot. Besides purchasing tickets directly from the Alhambra's official website, there are many guided tours you can choose that would typically include entry tickets.
That door over there is a view. That is the restaurant. So when you enter to the left of the main road, to the left of the building. Es así, no pide arte. That sounds incredible.
Keep coming back. Although this is my first time at VLL, but Jennifer and I.
Yo creo que había puerta ahí.
Ça dort si on s'arrête 2 secondes que je trouve pas le coup. Bon, je viens de toi. Non, jamais.
And the next day was population ruled by Syria. Then they are going to find two kind of independence. First, political independence. Then, 11th century.
The Alhambra resembles many medieval Christian strongholds in its threefold arrangement as a castle, palace, and a residential annex for subordinates. The Alcazaba, or citadel, its oldest part, is built on the isolated and precipitous foreland which terminates the plateau on the northwest, defined by the massive outer walls, towers, and the edge of ramparts. On its 85 feet tall watchtower, the flag of Ferdinand and Isabella was first raised on January 2nd, 1492, as a symbol of the Spanish conquest of Granada. A turret housing a large bell was added in the 18th century. Beyond the Alcazaba is the palace for the Moorish rulers, or Alhambra proper, and beyond that is the Upper Alhambra, originally inhabited by officials and courtiers. We're now in the Palacio de Generalife. This was the summer palace and country estate of the Nasrid Sultans of Granada. The palace and gardens were built during the reign of Muhammad III in the 14th century. The water garden courtyard in front of you has a long pool framed by flower beds, fountains, column arcades, and pavilions. The courtyard is considered as the best preservation of the style of medieval garden in Al-Andalus. The other part of the complex is Sultana's garden, which we will see later. The Generalife is one of the oldest Moorish gardens that can still be enjoyed today. There are many gardens, fountains, and reflecting pools throughout the Alhambra complex. The Moors used to plant roses, oranges, myrtles, and other colorful flowers in them. They also built a 5-mile-long aqueduct to channel water from the upstream of Darrow River in the mountains into the complex. These fountains and cascades with running water not only added to the aesthetic beauty of the compound, but also created a soothing acoustic effect all day long, as you can hear in this video. The Sultana's Garden.
¿Dónde está la Marisa? ¿Cómo se llama la ahora búscala,
Another yard or garden with water fountain.
And if they have more children, they just dig into the cave in another room.
Yeah.
We're now in the harem area. The harem is elaborately decorated and contains the living quarters for the wives and mistresses of the Arabian monarchs. This area contains a bathroom with running water, both hot and cold, baths, and pressurized water for showering. The bathrooms are open to the elements in order to let in light and air. For the architects of Alhambra, the greatest concern was how to cover every single space with decoration, no matter the size of the space. No amount of decoration was too much anywhere in this palace. Most of the interior arches are decorative arches with no structural functions whatsoever. They're there only for the look. Walls are covered by beautiful and extremely rich ceramics and plasterwork. And the carvings have wooden frames that have been exquisitely carved.
Right, let's go and stand over there in the shade.
Oh, well, don't lean on it then.
For example, after lunch, if you want to, here, at the garden, over there, where you can. transported to Royal Chapel. I suggest you to visit Royal Chapel in Malaga. It's beside a cathedral. It's quite interesting. So fun.
Here, you can see the ruins of some ancient structures which are no longer there. This is Nasrid Palace. The Nasrid architecture marked the beginning of the end of the glorious period that started with the Umayyads in Cordoba in the 8th century. The architects of the Cordoba Mosque, which was built a long time before the Alhambra, did not have too much influence in Alhambra. The Nasrid Palace includes some of the typical elements of the Andalusian architecture, such as the horseshoe arch with spandrel and the arch scallops, as well as its own special elements such as the column capitals. Now we're looking at some very interesting facade. Many historical and religious stories were carved into the facade, as you can see.
Before Philip II, Lutheranism and Calvinism split from Christian.
Reformation.
Reformation. The Reformation we say from the Catholic.
However, a lot of changes were made to the Nasrid Palace after the Christian conquest of the city in 1492. In the 16th century, Charles V put up new structures in the Renaissance style of the period and destroyed the greater part of the Winter Palace to make room for it. And in the 18th century, Philip V renovated the rooms to make them appear more Italian, and completed his palace in the middle of what had been the Moorish building. He had partitions constructed which blocked out whole apartments. This is Alcazaba. Alcazaba is different from Alcazar in the sense that Alcazaba is primarily a fortress, a citadel, while the Alcazar is actually a complex with a palace, with a residential quarter and a fortress. So that's the difference. The view from the top of the fortress.
Saint-Nicolas hier. La première couverture raisonnable. Donc une partie d'un 1349. Aujourd'hui, comme je disais avant, l'une des plus grandes villes, c'est l'Espagne. Avec 60 000 habitants.
We're now back inside the Nasrid Palace. For the architects of Alhambra, the greatest concern was how to cover every single space with decoration, no matter the size of the space. No amount of decoration was too much anywhere in this palace. Most of the interior arches are decorative arches with no structural functions whatsoever. They're there only for the look. Walls are covered with beautiful and extremely rich ceramics and plasterwork, and the coverings have wooden frames that have been exquisitely carved. Even though the masquerade bans the representation of figures, the decorating themes in the Alhambra are quite varied. The classical calligraphic decoration is used, in particular cursive and Kufic inscriptions, which reproduce the words "Only God is Victor," and poems written by different poets of the court. The decorative elements most often used by these architects were stylized vegetal forms interlacing decoration with a net of rhombuses. The Alhambra of Granada was built with its own special type of column, which is not used in any other building. This column has a very fine cylindrical shaft, the base of which has a big concave molding and is decorated with rings on the top part. The capital is divided into two bodies, and the first one, cylindrically shaped, has a very simple decoration and a prism with a rounded base and stylized vegetal forms as decoration.
So now the ceiling.
One of the most impressive decorative elements used in the Alhambra is the Mucarabi vault, formed by little cells placed one on top of another to look like a spread of honeycombs. This type of vault may be found in the hall of the Abbasan Sarajes and the hall of the Two Sisters. This is probably the first time you've seen this kind of ceiling, and maybe your last too.
The moldings on the ceiling is amazing. With some blue colors.
Walking out of this palace room with beautiful ceiling, we found ourselves in the Court of the Lions. The Court of the Lions is the main court in the Nasrid Palace. It's located at the very center of the Alhambra complex. It was commissioned by the Nasrid king Muhammad V, and its construction started in the second period of his reign, between 1362 and 1391. The Fountain of the Lions in front of you is the most famous fountain in Spain. The origin and meaning of the Fountain of the Lions has generated many legends, mainly due to its unusual themes for a Muslim palace, the 12 figurative lions. When the palace was being built, the isolation from the rest of the Islamic world and the friendly relationship with the Kingdom of Castile resulted in a rather unique architectural style that was quite different from the Islamic Arab continent. It's said that the Fountain of the Lions have a parallel in the Fountain of the Temple of Solomon, as described in the books of Chronicles of the Old Testament. Poem by Gabriel reads like this: "There is a pond like the Sea of Solomon. It doesn't rest over bulls but over lions arranged in circles. They seem to roar to their prey. Water flows from their mouth without end. It springs like the torrents of a stream." Before we leave the beautiful Alhambra, I want to show you one last scene near the exit of the whole complex. Thanks for watching. See you in the next episode. Adios.